We put the Huberman Sleep protocol to the test for a month. Would it really deliver a better quality sleep? Well, the answer is a solid yes. It is game-changing. This is not the video we intended to show you today. In fact, we spent 2 months testing the Andrew Huberman Sleep protocol. We shot it, we edited it, it was ready to go. And then we shelved it. Here's why. When I saw Dr. Huberman's Master Your Sleep podcast, I couldn't watch it fast enough.
Very bright sunlight, that photon energy, all the rhythms of your brain and body trigger proper metabolism. It's also going to suppress any melatonin, a hormone that makes you sleepy.
Master Your Sleep. Imagine that. If you're not familiar with Dr. Huberman, he's the host of the uber popular Huberman Lab podcast. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it highly enough. He's also a doctor of both neuroscience and ophthalmology and a professor at Stanford. The premise of the show of this episode, and I'll link it in the show notes below because I really think you should watch it, is that we've fallen out of sync with the rising and the setting of the sun. In the past, it was the rising and setting sun that told our bodies when to be awake and when to be ready to go to sleep. But today, with the lights in our ceilings and our lamps and phones and iPads and our TVs, we've fallen out of sync with our circadian rhythms. But here's the thing, in the time it took to produce the videos, I found I wasn't sleeping well. Imagine this. We're producing an entire video and declaring the protocol a game changer, and I'm awake in the middle of the night on the couch by myself thinking, but is it? And it was a total dilemma. Really, how do we release a video declaring a sleep protocol a game changer when I'm up in the middle of the night unable to sleep? So I did what all insomniacs or sleep challenge people do. More research. Enter Dr. Matt Walker, a neuroscientist who's pretty much the standard bearer for sleep research today, and Stephanie Romiszewski, a cognitive behavioral scientist specializing in sleep disorders. I'm listening to Stephanie, and she's talking about her patients who are really struggling with sleep, something I really empathize with. If I'm to do a video and say, this protocol is a game changer, and in 2 to 3 days, you'll be sleeping better, and then it doesn't happen for you and you are struggling for sleep, then that's a really terrible moment for you because you might feel more despair or even hopeless coming out of that. And I don't want that. So that's why we scrapped the video. So what I think is it's far more useful to look at the Huberman Sleep protocol through the lens of where you're coming from. So are you struggling with sleep, or are you a reliably good sleeper? Because I think the way you approach this and the mindset, importantly, is really important. And then you can sort of take that protocol and bring in the other influences, Matt and or Stephanie, to sort of master your sleep in a way that's right for you. My beef with some of these videos about Dr. Huberman's sleep protocol is that we don't know what kind of sleeper you are going into this. So I think I should tell you a little bit about my relationship with sleep. So all of my adult life, I have struggled to some respect with sleep. When I was younger, I never slept before an exam. I never slept before a big trip. I didn't sleep 2 nights before my wedding. So every big event in my life was through like a veil of tiredness. By the time I got into my 40s, it was out of control. And for years, and I believe that this was perimenopause, I wasn't sleeping well at all. And for 6 months of those years, it was full-blown insomnia. Like I maybe got a few hours a night if I was lucky. And I just powered through the next day. If you're struggling with sleep or you have insomnia, you'll know exactly how that feels. It's also a lonely existence because you're up and you're awake all by yourself in the middle of the night, and it feels horrible. And then the next day, you're tired, and in the early evening, you're feeling like, okay, I'm gonna sleep tonight. But as sleep gets closer, your anxiety increases. And then as your anxiety increases, it's just like shooting yourself in the foot. In my 50s, I started to sleep the best I'd ever slept in my life. Just lately, I've started to have several nights in a row where I'm not sleeping great. Maybe it's trying to optimize my sleep and doing the Huberman Sleep protocol that I've started to focus too much on sleep again. So I'm not sleeping well, and yet I'm still doing the Huberman Sleep protocol. Okay, let's first dig in to what the protocol entails, and then I want to bring in our two other experts because I think that there's an approach for everybody. Get up at the same time every day. That means even if you haven't slept well, and even on Saturday and Sunday. If you're up before the sun, just be sure to turn your lights on. And if the sun's already up, throw on some clothes and get out for a walk so that you're getting those early morning rays. So on a bright sunny day like this, you only really need 3 minutes or so. On a cloudy day, maybe 20 minutes. And on a really overcast day, maybe 30 to 60 minutes for your walk. But here's the fine print. If you're thinking that you could get the light exposure through the window in your home, think again. Well, you can, but it's going to take you about 50 times longer. Try and delay your coffee intake for 90 minutes to 2 hours after you get up. Go for your walk, come back, then have your coffee. I think you're going to find that it pushes off that sluggishness you feel right after lunch. Get your exercise in the morning. Late day workouts can disrupt your sleep. So if you like a cup of coffee in the afternoon, here's something surprising. We all process caffeine differently, and the half-life of coffee can be 8 to 10 hours. So if you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, you might want to rethink the afternoon coffee. So what about napping? Well, Dr. Huberman says it can be incredibly restorative, but to keep your nap under 60 to 90 minutes. But this is where I think our experts and our two sleep groups diverge. Dr. Matt Walker says to try and keep your naps 20 minutes or less. And I think for people like me who really struggle with sleep, having a nap in the afternoon could be the kiss of death when you actually want to fall asleep at night. Try to get outside for 3 to 10 minutes within an hour before sunset. Again, remember, those particular cells on your retina are there to perceive the quality of light when the sun is lower in the sky, and that helps to set your biological clock. Avoid bright lights between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. That means overhead lights and lamps, and of course, blue light from screens. We like to go into theater mode by dimming or turning off the overhead lights around 8 p.m. Remember, those cells look up, so if there are overhead lights, you're sending the wrong signal. You might get a little jolt of energy around 9 p.m. Don't worry, Dr. Huberman says that's normal. I use that time to do my pre-bed routine so I'm ready when I start to tap. As Stephanie, our therapist, said, we're creating an 8-hour sleep opportunity.
Every single night, most of the time, so about 80% of the time, I will give myself a 7 to 8 hour sleep opportunity, sleep window. But I do not mean that if I'm not sleepy, I take myself into a dark room and shut myself down. I just know that it's there. I've got a bedroom, a place I really want to be to sleep that is available to me during those hours, and I will not sleep outside those hours. And that is the big thing, is you can dictate to your body when you don't sleep, but you cannot dictate when you do. And by doing that, you will force your body to be in a nice regular cycle. It's actually really, really simple.
Give in and go to bed when the sleep spirit arrives. Don't fight it to binge another episode. Don't take your phone into the bedroom. Remember, you don't want that blue light, and it's too much of a temptation if you wake up in the middle of the night. Make sure your room is nice and cool. Okay, so that's it. That's the Huberman protocol. And it really does center around this early morning light. So if I'm not sleeping that well, why do I continue to do it? Well, because the morning walk actually is the game changer. The thing that's so remarkable about it is that even on days where I'd wake up in the morning and I'd feel sort of out of sorts or anxious about something in my day, I'd go out for the walk, and when we come back, I just felt better. It was in watching another Huberman podcast, I discovered that it is a thing. So it turns out that when you go for a walk, you're looking around and you've got this thing called optic flow, and it's lighting up all different parts of your brain. But simultaneously, it's silencing or dampening the effect of your amygdala. And that's where the stressors come from. That's sort of your negative Nelly zone in the morning. So the walk actually sets you up for a great day. And why I think this is so important for those of us who struggle with sleep is that we're more prone to having sort of a down day, right? Because we're waking up without a lot of sleep. So by going out for the walk, you're going to come back feeling more positive, and you're going to dive into your day. And where this is also important is that Stephanie, our therapist, says that you got to just get on with your day. Focus on the things you need to focus on. Your brain needs that distraction. So all in all, the morning walk is really a game changer. On top of getting this boost of positivities, there are some other goodies we're getting out of this. We're walking 2 miles a morning, so that's an additional 14 miles a week on top of my normal workouts. It's about 200 calories, so that's an additional 1,400 calories burned on top of my workouts. We've also added on this practice now of taking the stairs whenever we're coming and going, and that's adding an additional 70 floors climbed per week, according to my watch. What does this all mean? You have to take your advice from the person who understands the way you're coming at sleep optimization the best. Just like medicine is moving more and more towards personalized medicine, I think that's the holy grail. I think that we have to personalize the way we optimize sleep. I'm just a person who has struggled with sleep and who's been trying to optimize it for 15 years now. The Huberman protocol works for everybody, but we still have our two groups of people. So if you're in the camp that, you're just not sleeping that well, or you're a full-blown insomniac, I think the Huberman protocol works for everybody. But definitely, you want to just be doing the things that work and not shooting yourself in the foot. So getting up at the same time every day and going out for that early morning walk to get the sunlight in your eyes, and keeping your coffee in the morning, and maybe not napping at night, going into theater mode, dim your lights in the evening, and go to bed when the feeling hits. Just the sort of basic things like that. And then don't overthink it. But then I think the sleep expert to marry the Huberman protocol to is Stephanie Romiszewski, our therapist. I'm going to link to a podcast called Diary of a CEO, and I guarantee you're going to feel better after watching that. You're going to feel the pressure melt away, and I think that's the path for you. Now, if you sleep on the whole reliably well, you may be taking your sleep for granted, and there's probably a whole lot that you can learn about the significance of getting a good night's sleep, and that's where Matt Walker comes in. So definitely do the Huberman protocol, but read Matt Walker's book, watch his podcast appearance with Huberman and the many others, because he's really a guiding force in what we know about sleep and short and long-term health. If you're into making sure you're as healthy as you can be, you're gonna wanna check that out. Those are the two paths, but I think there are different solutions for different people. And I think that that's where this all sort of ends up for somebody like me. So what I wanna know is, what do you think? If you take the time and you listen to Stephanie or you listen to Matt, I want to know what you think. Tell me in the comments what this means to you. you're still here. You're either my mom or you're a Century Rider. The very easiest way to support our brand spanking new channel is to hit subscribe, and we would be eternally grateful. And you can learn what it is to be a Century Rider in this video.